picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
And a happy Friday to one and all. Yes, it's that time again, dear friends. Gather around the work table. This week we are going to be finishing the Ranger. I say that with no small amount of confidence because we are mostly done. I've done some work. Listen to my English, I did some work earlier this week on the Ranger just to get it, make up for the, how long everything took last weekend. So, to getting it up to speed, I'll splice those reports in after this lengthy introduction, and then we'll crack on with the rest of the week's work. So strap in, folks. We're going to get some stuff done this week. Well, in the fine tradition of getting back on the horse, it is merely Tuesday, and I'm already back at work on the Ranger. I have finished what I would call the major construction. If I find there it is. If I find the other engine, I'll have it. But I have finished the major construction. I've got the two halves neatly affixed to each other. I've got the landing gear in, or the legs for it. I've got these last two covers in. And all of this is joined up and drying so that I can put the little footies on the front and the engines in the back and the hatch on the back. That remains to be done. But then I can paint the finish black, which is the erstwhile cousin of the orphan black. It is the finish black. And I will try to keep it off of this grilling, but it will be to cover up the scuffs and the sanding and the scraping and all that kind of stuff, most notably up there. Keeping it off the windows, and I'll put the window masks on so that I can paint those with impunity. And then, once the black has been done and dried and masked, then I can start painting the white. And then we'll be done. There's no reason why we can't finish that this week, and maybe even before the weekend, so who knows. But it's in another drying phase. So. And now, finally, the fun part starts. I've got all the parts. I've got everything glued on except for the engines and the back hatch. And now it's time to start masking for the white painting. And these new masks, these are newly added to my original set. They are specifically designed to match the photo etch from Paul. The original masks on my set are only meant to go with the stock kit, and they will still work for the stock kit, but there's going to be an additional section now that is labeled PGFX, and it's meant to go on Paul's etch. So I'm carefully placing those over the open windows so that I can put the touch up the black paint to begin with, and then paint the white on top of it. Greetings, it's Thursday night. Time to do even more pre-weekend work on the Ranger. Tonight I am going to finish masking these windows, and then I am going to take the ever-present Tamiya black paint and touch up all the black that needs to be painted on this so that I can prepare it for the big masking and the white painting this weekend. Okay, we're going to start the first stage. It's Friday night, by the way. Thank you very much. TTMIF. Thank the maker, it's Friday. We're going to start painting some white. We're going to do this bit, and then we're going to do this bit, and then we're going to we're going to get those up to speed, and then take off the masking and do the central bit. But it's kind of tough to mask it all off at one time, so we're going to do it in stages. And here we are. We've got the first coat of the reefer white over the front area and the back area of the Ranger that gets it. Now it's going to be awfully stark, and I don't mean Tony or Rob or any of the other famous Stark families. It's going to be awfully stark until I get the weathering on it, but the windows have been masked. I'm masking off the areas that I wish to keep the lovely black, and I will be, and I have already sprayed over the masks that I have put down, so I'm going to give that an hour or so to dry, hit it once more, and then take those masks off so that I can paint this area here. And that's my goal for this evening. Okay, I have taken some of the masks off, and I put another coat of of some gray over top of the white there. And I've taken some of the mask off, and I'm now putting the first coat of the reefer white on the main portion. And I'm going to let that dry for a while before I come back and hit it with another coat, and that'll probably be the white Tamiya over the white polyscale. So that's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Well, good morning and welcome back. It's Saturday. Again, still too wet and damp from yesterday's rain to do any yard work, so goody me, I get to work on models. Taking off some of the masking from yesterday so that you can see what I have wrought, and now comes the time when we try to see if there's any paint that creeped under the vinyl. Looks pretty good so far. Might have to do some manual touching up, but by and large it's looking pretty good. Ooh, there's a nasty bit. Okay, so what we do in that case is we put a piece of masking back over this side and touch the black up. So let me go do that. Let's see how much other black I might have to touch up. And then we will progress with some weathering. Now I need to leave the window masks on because there's precious clear plastic underneath them. And I'm imagining that there will be some touch up around those frames as well. And let me finish getting this off. Okay, so the masks have been removed except for the windows. The borders between the black and the white have been touched up, and in some cases I had to go back in with a piece of straight tape and airbrush just to refine a line or two where there was some underspray or some overspray. But all that's taken care of. So now what I want to do is give everything just a light coat of a satin, clear satin finish. What that's going to do is that's going to give everybody the same finish, because this is more of a flat paint. This is more of a semi-gloss. Shut up, you. And when I go to start putting in some weathering, I want to do that on a nice flat surface, or a nice even surface, contiguous if you want to use the technical term, and I can start working in some added detail into here, which it sorely needs, because right now it's very black and white. But all the lines are there. I got the masks off the back, and everything is cool on both sides. So I just want to unify it a bit and then let that dry. And here you can see it out in the nature, in the actual daylight. You can see some of the, well, maybe you can't, because there, I zoom in, I can see some of the weathering and smudging I've put in. It's subtle, but it's there. So this has had it's a little bit shiny now because it's had the satin coat on it. But the contours of the hull are there. Or not. Well, welcome back. The Ranger was going so well, I decided to take advantage of the time and the good weather, and I went out and mowed my entire yard and trimmed the bushes and got up all the trimmings and all that. So as a result, I ached from my tops of my fingers to the tip of my toes. I am one sore son of a gun. So what I'm going to do now, luckily doesn't take up a lot of time and space and energy. I'm going to put the decals on. I had glossed this earlier in the day and let it dry all the time that I was out abusing myself. And now I'm going to put the decals down and let them dry in for a few hours before I top coat it. And then we'll be ready for the final weathering. We're still going to get this done this weekend. It's just a question of getting these decals down now. And all the decals are down. Didn't take long because there weren't that many, which is good. So nothing to do now but to let them dry and maybe clean this desk up a little bit, and then start doing some fun weathering. Okay, here is the first look, or at least what I'm thinking is the first look at the Moebius Raptor from the Battlestar Galactica series. Now, what I am doing is evaluating this for a possible template set, painting templates and window masks. Now, the obvious candidates for masking are this rather odd canopy and this window insert that goes in the door. It goes right in here. But I'm also evaluating the rest of the kit to see where painting aids to painting might come in handy. And I'm thinking of basic things like these gray shapes on the wings. They could probably stand to be masked off to make them easier to paint. They are gray, whereas the rest of the kit is a desert tan. There are several different paint schemes, one for a rescue, one for an attack. But the most common one is the desert tan mottled look with gray accents, and the engines themselves also present a good opportunity for masking. These greebly bits need to stay the gray slash you could maybe do gunmetal on that or some other metallic colors, but the raised rings here, 1, 2, and this bit up here need to stay that same brown. So maybe something that spray the whole thing with the primer gray, and then maybe mask these areas before you spray the brown on top of it. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm looking at parts and seeing what needs help. Probably a good candidate is right in here, this framework that goes around the front bubble also stays gray whilst this part here is painted brown. So maybe something that goes over top of these areas that once they're painted gray to keep them gray, things like that. So that's what I'm doing, and part of what the fun of working with a test shot is there are no instructions. Now, you may think you never use the instructions, but when you don't have instructions to fall back on, it can get a bit dicey. Now, luckily, I know this subject. I have built a garage kit of it before, but this is a lot more detailed than that is, and I know where everything goes. I can figure out most of it, but I might get stuck on a bit or two, so that's going to be interesting. What I'm going to do now is probably do some preliminary construction parts that I know can go together that I am not, that's like this right here. Like, I know these parts can go together. Well, I know they could if that was the right wing. It's not the correct wing. There you go. That's the correct wing. No, I had it right the first time. See, this is what I said about having instructions. That goes there. That goes there. There you go. See, two parts go together. I could do some of this kind of basic stuff now and work my way up to some sub-assemblies. Okay, you can kind of see the back end starting to take shape. It's a lot more complicated than the garage kit that I built. A lot more parts, a lot more detail. Looks better. Gotta say that, but a lot more going on there. And the inside of the cabin, of course, and everything here is just kind of, well, some parts are glued, but most of it's just press fit. Looking pretty good. Welcome back. It is Sunday morning, and before I go off to worship, I am going to remove the masks from these windows. I want to start doing the actual weathering now. The decals have been nicely buried. I've coated this with first a gloss coat, then put decals down, then I put another gloss coat over that, and now the surface has got a nice finish to it, and the decals have no edge to them at all. And now I want to start weathering, but these windows have gotten a bit puckered, so I'm going to take those off to see whether the framework might need any touch-up around them. So let's do that now. That ought to make it look fun. Okay, all of the masks have been removed. Some tiny touching up around the frames has been accomplished with the wee tiny brush. And now we're ready for some general weathering. We're almost done, kids. We're hours away. It is time. It is time to do the final weathering. And we're going to start on the bottom. Ironically, what is dark we need to make light, and what is light we need to make dark. So I'm going to hit the some of these leading edges here with just a light coat of gray, so as to make it look like perhaps the tile, for lack of a better term, has gotten a little bit of scorch on it. Sort of like what happens to a briquette when you start a charcoal fire and the edges get a little bit white. That's kind of what I'm working for here. Okay, I'm finally satisfied with all of the black and white areas. You'll notice that, well, you may not, it's kind of subtle. This area here around where the metal, the photo etch pieces are, I've actually tinted a little bit of a yellowish, beigeish tinge to it, which kind of goes in with the on the actual full-size prop. That's more wrapped with like a canvas material than a hard white metallic surface. More like some of the parts of the actual space shuttle that has more of a canvas look to it. So I just tinted that. It gives it a little bit more interest, breaks up all of that white, kind of warms up the whole look of it. And now what I'm doing is just going in with various touches of transparent smoke and Comart old oil, and just kind of tracing in some of the lines of the plating, and then brushing it straight back with a Q-tip. And that's how I'm doing the aging. Okay, you may be asking yourself, hey Lou, why did you put the mask back on? Which, looks like a step backwards to some. Well, what I'm going to do is, one last thing, is I'm going to put some big streaks of smoke scorching that are going to kind of go across the windows, and the smoke is a gloss finish. So what I'm going to do after that is put a flat dust coat over everything, and unfortunately there are windows under there that I do not want to get that dust coat on, or else it will flatten them, and they're meant to be glossy windows. So I have to protect those windows for this one last step. And that's why. No other reason than that. And we're down to the final turn, ladies and gentlemen, to use a racing metaphor. Have got all of the weathering done on here that I'm going to do. Have got the windows covered up. Have got the black and whites to where I'm happy. What I want to do now is hit the whole thing with a coat of dust and let that dry, and then flip it over and hit the bottom with a coat of dust, and that will finish it off. Okay, the dust covering is doing its milky goodness. It is flattening down and taking care of and giving a unified finish to all of the paints. And I'm going to let that dry for a few hours and see if some of that milkiness does dissipate. If not, I may have to go back in with some blacks and touch, just to bring the vibrancy of the blacks back up. But I kind of like them, because a deep black looks like a toy. And when it has a little bit of a depth to it, it looks more realistic. So that's where I'm at. I may take, I'm thinking of this, taking a fine brush and some very light gray, and just touching some of these areas here where there would be wear, and knocking that back a little bit. But for right now, I'm very happy with it. Gonna let it dry. Gonna set it aside for a while. And here's the finished Ranger. Try to give you the full Monty here. You can really get the idea that those windows are shiny and tinted, but that there is the indication of something inside. as was the goal. And the weather streaking isn't as severe as I think the last one I did may have been a little bit more weathered than this. But let's see what it looks like in the sun. That's kind of partial shade. Oh, no, it just blows everything out in the sun. But you can see the interior better. And all of that black kind of dives back into a very, very dark gray, which is what I was hoping for. Because if you've ever seen the space shuttle, I was lucky enough to have seen it up in Washington. If you've ever seen the space shuttle, the black on it is not very dark black. It's not a deep dark black. It is a dark gray, darker gray. So there you go. Another one for the shelf. Yeah, you can see the windows reflecting. Oh, and the geese are flying. Here you can kind of see it in place along with some of the other recent kits that I have finished. Inside. Very nice. Kind of happy. Yes, and we are starting work on the Raptor. Serious work on the Raptor. We don't rest on our laurels around here. We get right back into the next kit. And what I've done basically is just primed this floor plate and then hit it with a light coat of metallic gray to get this diamond plate appropriately diamond platey. So we're going to set that aside. We've got the engines glued together and drying, and I'll sand that seam once that gets taken care of. And this is going to wrap up work on the Raptor this weekend, wrapping the Raptor as it were. Got some sub-assemblies taken care of. Got some sanding to do. But before I can do anything tremendously more with this, I need to trace off the areas that I'm going to be making painting templates for. Once I put those pieces together, I won't be able to have the access that I need. But hopefully this will give you an idea as to the size and the quality of this kit, which seems to be yet another hit from Moebius. I get tired of saying it, but you know, when they start producing substandard kits, I will be the first to tell you, this is another good one. Like I said, it's easy when you have the instructions. It's not so easy when you don't have the instructions. Trying to figure out where all the intricate little fiddly bits go. I'm taking apart the pieces that I do know, and when I have left over, I will fit where it goes. But until such time, it's time to wrap up my work for the weekend. Okay, as we put a close to the end of this weekend, and I finish up this Interstellar Ranger, I'm going to do the first of what I call the post-build postmortem. I'm going to look at what I did on a build and see if there's anything I would recommend to do differently, or try to pass on any lessons learned. And yes, there were a couple of big boo-boos, a couple of big mistakes, a couple of big wastes of time that I did on this Ranger. This was my first project really extensively using photo etch. I have done it before for cockpits and for additional detail on bits, but I have never done such a wholesale replacement of a section of a model with photo etch as I did with this one. I still recommend that. I do believe in my heart of hearts that the best results would be for you, anybody building this kit and using Paul's wonderful etch, to do what I did and cut out that whole section and replace it. Now there's two ways to go about what I did, And one would be the way I did it, which was to take the three pieces and form them together and JB weld them together as a separate unit outside of the kit and then put it down. That's one way. The second way would be to take the three pieces and actually glue them into the body of the kit first, and then work these seams. Now I couldn't tell you honestly which would be easier, because there's two important things. Getting this angle, this joint on both sides, is crucial. That is really what shows you the look of that kit. So if you feel you've got a better shot of doing that outside of the model, go for it. I would, if I were to do another one of these, I would try probably doing it the other way and installing these first into the kit and then working this joint later, just to see whether it would make any difference or not. But again, I highly recommend using Paul's etch. Now the second thing I did, which was a big goof and I would never do that again, is when I tried to paint the inside of these windows with a smoke paint. Please save yourselves time. Don't do that. Go straight to the window tinting film and do that from the inside. And because I ended up sacrificing a lot of clarity on the windows because I had put paint on them after they were glued into the photo etch. And in the course of cleaning all of that paint off, I streaked up the windows and they were not as clean. They were never going to be as clean again as where they were when I started. So please save yourself some heartache and just use the window tinting film and skip trying to paint those. If I had known so much of this interior was going to be visible, I would have tried to light it, but that really wasn't the mission statement for this kit, so I'm going to stick with that. I mean, it would look nice, but that really wasn't what this job was about. This was all about using the photo etch for the first time. I think that back gate turned out nice. And then these vents underneath, they are bare to work with, and please try to avoid bumping them. They can go very wrong in a heartbeat. So that is something, if you're going to do, make sure you are comfortable with, treating them very gingerly. But they did turn out well, all things considered. And you really do need to have some sort of detailed backdrop underneath there. Ooh, I've got a little booger in there I need to clean out. Come on. It's stuck. I'm going to have to get a blade. Hold the phone. Talk amongst yourself while Okay, got rid of that. Okay. But yeah, you need some sort of detail underneath there to really show off that there is something going on behind those. So that's my... I'm just gluing these back engines in. And that's my nutshell review. It's a wonderful kit. It's rare to have a kit from a movie that's this recent. It's almost like the Batmobile. It's like having a model while the movie's still in the theaters. It's quite a change from what I was used to growing up. So I know I'm rambling. Go out, buy the kit. Get Paul's Etch. It is wonderful. It will bring extra life to your kit. A lot of people maybe said some disparaging things about this kit when they realized how few parts it actually had. You have a top of the hull and the bottom of the hull and you're done. But when you cut those windows out and you add more life to the inside, you can make it as complicated and an elaborate a model as you want to. And that's my Moebius Interstellar Ranger postmortem. And that's going to bring us to the end of yet another week of work here at Aztek Dummy. Finished up the Ranger. Yay! I like it when I finish kits. It happens so rarely. And I started on the Raptor. And there's another side kit that I've been you may have seen in the periphery. working on. But that's a fun little thing that's kind of off screen, and we'll see how it turns out. It's kind of a surprise for Wonderfest. And next, we are working on the Raptor, and we will be getting onto the Eagle, which is patiently waiting its turn in the wings, as it were. So until next week, when we will be gathering around the workbench again, have a good one, be good to each other, go outside and play.